The Screech Owl. We're going to call Act 2, Scene 2, the Screech Owl scene. Lady Macbeth is going to invoke that beautiful animal. So if you want to follow along, Act 2, Scene 2, it says, enter Lady Macbeth. Enter where? Probably into some little small courtyard, maybe a big hallway, not far from the rooms, chambers, where their guests are staying, including King Duncan and bodyguards. So Act 2, Scene 2, Lady Macbeth begins, that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. So the alcohol that I just had a little bit of alcohol and it's giving me energy, but it's quenched them. I got them wasted. Line 3, it was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman, the messenger of death, she says, that she heard. Reminds us of many times in the play where nature is invoked as having something to do with human events. Does it really? Or are these just human interpretations? But you see that over and over again in the play, that natural events not only forecast, but also signify some events in the human world. And of course, Shakespeare's audience would have completely understood that. As we have discussed with this play also, there's this idea that the natural world may not be innocent. There are the belief in powerful spirits around humans. And again, some of that could be a nod from Shakespeare to King James, who authored the book Demonology. We've discussed that before. Back to Act 2, Scene 2. In line 4, when Lady Macbeth says, he is about it, she's assuming that her husband is at the task of regicide, reminding the audience, and also lets the audience know, line 6, second half of line 6, I have drugged their possets. I have spiked their possets. Posset is something that was drunk oftentimes before bedtime, maybe a spiced wine and milk before bedtime, and she spiked it. I don't know, I prefer vitamin water. So the bodyguards are wasted, and she thinks that everything was prepared for him to do the deed. She says in line 11, the second half, I laid their daggers ready. He, her husband Macbeth, he couldn't miss them. Had he, now she's talking about King Duncan, had Duncan not resembled my father as he slept, I would have done it myself. That's a pretty interesting line. So she's in the room, she sees King Duncan, the bodyguards are somewhere in the room, sleeping on the floor, wasted, right? They're out. She's putting the daggers there for Macbeth to find when he goes in there, and says, if Duncan didn't physically resemble my father, I would have done the deed myself. Now, that should strike us as a very interesting line. One thing to say about it is maybe she's not as, at this point in the play, not as completely devoid of conscience, not as strong as we saw earlier, a couple scenes ago, when she said to her husband, if I had made a promise such as you, and I was nursing an infant, I'd take that infant and bash its brains out if that's what it took. And now, so that comment by her is in contrast here to her saying, well, I couldn't do it because there was a physical resemblance to my own father. So some humanity here, a streak of humanity with Lady Macbeth. She's a human being. She's a human being. Macbeth enters stage. My husband, he announces, line 14, I have done the deed. Did you hear anything? Lady Macbeth, I heard the owl scream. The screech owl, in her opinion, the screech owl announced that the evil act was taken. Macbeth on line maybe 19, usually it's played, he's looking at his hands with blood on it, says, oh, this is a sorry sight, looking at the blood on his hands. Lady Macbeth rebuffs that. Don't say that. What are you talking about? Macbeth talks about, as I was walking away, I heard some, maybe from another room, I heard some guests lodged. They woke up in their night. I had to stop. Line 22, they said their prayers, and then I went on my way. Macbeth then says on 24 to 27 that maybe they were talking, it's as if they were talking about me and asking for amen. Me, myself, I couldn't say amen. So again, he's extrapolating that what's this just waking up naturally in the night has something to do with the murder that he has just considered. And Lady Macbeth advises him, consider it not so deeply. Stop thinking about this kind of stuff. Lady Macbeth again says, stop thinking after these ways, line 31. It'll make us mad if you keep thinking this way. She continues on this line as Macbeth is saying, yeah, I heard all these noises and all these things that maybe had to do with me. He says what's to me an incredible line on lines 39 and 40. Glamis, that's he, right? He's Thane of Glamis, and just recently Thane of Cawdor, line 40, shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. And it's right, he's not going to get any rest. After this act, he's not going to find any kind of mental peace whatsoever, to put it mildly. Lady Macbeth is still advising him, saying, well, you have control of that. It says on line 41, worthy Thane. She calls him worthy now. Remember, she was insulting him earlier when he was hesitating about killing Duncan, but now that he's done it, now she calls him worthy Thane. You do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. Line 43, get some water, wash your hands, get this witness away from your hands, the blood. Wait, why did you bring these daggers? You brought the daggers back here? They're supposed to be right next to the bodyguards so that they are the ones found guilty of regicide. She can't believe it. Macbeth is like, I'm not going back there. Line 47, 48. I'm not going there. I can't go back in there into that scene, into the murder scene, the crime scene, and see what I've done. No. Line 49. Look on it again. I dare not. Lady Macbeth, back to her language of insulting him, infirm of purpose. Just give me the daggers. I'll go back and plant them. Macbeth again, there's a knocking, line 40, 54, 55. Where's that knocking coming from? Line 55. How is it with me? Every noise is appalling me. He's realizing that everything's now bothering me and I'm hearing everything. He's not going to have any kind of psychic peace from here on out after having that deed. And a beautiful line about how the guilt is now part of him in line 57. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? Will I ever get this act clean from my hand? No. He answers it himself. Line 58, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. Just fabulous lines to me. His act is so appalling that it's infecting the world. As we discussed earlier in the semester, the tragedies in Shakespeare, they are on a grand scale. There's an idea that something really large is at stake. In Hamlet, something's rotten in the state of Denmark. Othello, the Kingdom of Venice seems to be at stake. Um, and here again, it's not a domestic. Contrast it with a domestic tragedy. We read short stories that have domestic tragedies where the only thing at stake is really a family or the individual. Here it seems it's on a grand scale, and on the Shakespeare theater, especially with the tragedies, that something great is at stake. And according to these lines, the whole world has been infected. So just hope you enjoy those lines. Lady Macbeth continues here in the lines. They continue to hear the knocking, and she advises her husband in line 66, 67, hey, make sure you put on your nightgown, your bedclothes, so that when everybody wakes up, we'll appear in our night clothes. So just to make it seem like we're not the ones who actually did the deed, of course. Macbeth's line 71, wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst. I wish that Duncan himself could be awakened with this knocking. So again, we see the guilt and the effects on the conscience are immediate after the deed. Scene 2 finished.